What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to this Forex forecast. We're going to be going over oil. This is basically oil. And right before we get into the actual analysis, I do want you guys to do one thing, and that's just like this video and idea. Not only does it support our channel on YouTube and the profile on TradingView, but it also gives other people the opportunity to see this video as well. Not only to learn from educationally, but also potentially get setups that are valid and make some money as well. So that being said, let's just get straight into it. This is oil. I do already have items marked up, so I'm just going to reveal them and talk about them and talk about kind of what I see and why I'm marking it up in such a way. So these are actually things that I had posted previously. If you've been following our TradingView, we had talked about oil in the past, and you can see, we had this one that was pretty accurate. I'm not sure if it actually triggered because we were waiting for a slight retracement, but that one ended up going our direction regardless. And then you can see here, this one was one that we actually took. This was on a smaller time frame though. But what we're talking about is the now and what I'm seeing now. So basically what I had pointed out here, just as a reference point, was this area of significance, because this was a major, and obviously you can see it was the low for this particular instrument of historical low. Sorry. So you can see that it got tested once, twice, respected here, and then we finally broke through. And when we broke through, we really fell through. And obviously, if you know anything about oil, a lot of stuff that's going on is just a supply and demand issue. Obviously, with Corona, people are not using oil as much. People are not flying, people are not driving as much. So the supply chain is less demanding, so there's less of a need for it. And then there was also price wars between producers, specifically Russia and the Middle East. And then the different factions between the Middle East is the reason why those price wars started increasing. So in other words, price was decreasing because of the price war increasing. So anyways, this is why I marked this up, significant area. I just wanted to highlight that. And then the next thing is when I went down to a weekly, I had pointed this area of structure out because it was support. You can see that it came down here, became a reversal point, and we jumped up from there. So this means this was an area of structure. And right now we're approaching and already kind of approached this area, this region right here of support. And depending on how we react on the upcoming candles, this could potentially be treated as resistance, which would be confirming this area of structure. And the reason why I thought of this area being significant, because if we actually take a fib, swing high, swing low of this leg, we can see that it aligns perfectly with this 50% fib of the weekly leg as well. So that's that's two pieces of confluence for this particular pair on why we would be interested in pursuing a short in this instance, because you can see we have a lot of downward momentum. We have one push down with a slight correction up to, let's see what this one was, almost the 30%, and then we have another push down breaking beyond this area of support, which is another impulse to the downside with a good correction going up to the 50%. So we have the 50% fib of the weekly leg plus structure, and in addition to the two downward impulse legs showing downward bearish momentum, in addition to the fundamental, which I hardly take into consideration because I'm primarily a technical trader. However, in this instance, because the fundamentals are playing such a major role on price itself for oil, it's important for us to kind of look at that and take that into consideration for this instance specifically, in the context of Corona, of course. So what I wanted to do is, based off of that, if this area is starting to be treated as support, we can start looking at target points, and that's where this 120 fib of the, I meant to say weekly leg, comes into play. And that's pretty much what we had lined up right here. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for oil. It already did trigger based on this, but I'm waiting for the trading conditions for entering to be satisfied prior to entering. But you can see here, if we do end up going straight towards target, it's going to be a 1 to 3.27 risk to reward ratio, which is an ideal risk parameter for us. There's one caveat to this, is I would ask you guys to consider looking out at this area right here, because it could be, oops, that is terrible. Let's go back to that. It could be, sorry, this area right here, because this area could be a potential zone of support. So in this instance, if you do start seeing some resistance in this area, then what you can do is just close it out manually, and we'll still be above that 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio, which is our minimum risk to reward ratio when we're executing trades. So that's why this is a good trade overall, even if you end up having to close out manually a little bit earlier than you would want to. However, because this is not that significant, we still have a lot of momentum. We still might have a lot of momentum and make it at least a wick to this area before we bounce back up. And this line right here, the 50% fib, was actually an extension fib of the monthly leg as well. So this area is showing to be pretty significant, and depending on how it pans out in the next couple of days, could be a potential area for us to actually enter in based on our entry conditions. So that being said, this is oil. One of the few times I'm taking fundamentals into consideration. Make sure that your entry conditions are satisfied prior to entering. Please like this video once again if you found it informative, and if you have been taking these trades and ideas and you've been making pips, also like this idea as well. In addition to that, just comment any pairs or instruments that you would want us to cover in future videos as well. Anyways, this is Oil here with Pudasex. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.